Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with Ripe for Reissue. Oh, this one really bothers me. It's the Mackerras Brahms cycle on Telarc with the Scottish Chamber Orchestra. This is an important and splendid Brahms cycle for many, many reasons. But first we have to talk about what's going on with Telarc. The answer is nothing is going on with Telarc. Some stuff's available, some stuff isn't available. There's nobody to talk to. There's no way to figure out why stuff goes in or out of print or what's happening with the label. It was purchased by Concord Music, which is a huge conglomerate full of very nice people. I've spoken to them many times. They own Boozy and Hawks, and they've been very helpful when I've had things like copyright claims. But unfortunately, as with all these things, you just never know what's going on with these enormous companies. And it's just I've said to them many times, you got to do something with Telarc. You've got some amazing stuff. You could make some boxes. You could do a Mackerras box. You could do a Slatkin box. You could do a Cleveland Quartet box, although RCA just did one, but an Atlanta Symphony box. Oh, wouldn't that be marvelous? I mean, there's just so much good stuff around, and it's all just languishing, and it's completely random, as far as I can tell. I don't think anything's ever going to happen. And this is, as I said, an important Brahms cycle because there are many Brahms cycles on period instruments. Most of them are just dreadful. I mean, well, they're all dreadful, actually. There aren't any good Brahms cycles on period instruments because period instruments are demonstrably wrong for Brahms, for the most part. However, there is this wonderful little typescript called Brahms and the Meiningen Tradition, which was a supposed typescript dictated to the author of said typescript by conductors at the Meiningen Court Orchestra, a conductor particularly, where Brahms premiered a lot of his symphonies under Hans von Bülow, that was succeeded by Richard Strauss. I mean, it's a wonderful tradition, and the last exemplar of that tradition that we know about was Hermann Abendroth, who was famous for his Brahms and who had tremendous flexibility of tempo, which is basically what the Meiningen tradition was. It also says, by the way, that they used vibrato. So back then, in the 1860s and 70s and 80s, that we know from the way it's written, where it says in two passages, no vibrato here, no vibrato there, that otherwise there would have been. So there you go. Anyway, Steinbach was the conductor, actually, I think his name was. And the bottom line is that there are indications. It's a map on how to perform these symphonies. And all the period instrument people are basically sort of ignoring this because, they don't like to pay any attention to the actual evidence of the period in question. They would rather invent it out of whole cloth based on some obscure treatise from 400 years earlier. That's sort of what they do when they play late Romantic music. Now, you don't argue with me. I know that's an exaggeration, but, there's truth in it. So anyway, Mackerras took this thing, and just like he did with his Elgar symphonies, where he listened to Elgar's own recordings and copied every portamento and everything to try and create as authentic a sound as possible based on what the available evidence was. Well, he did that with this. And the result, I wouldn't call it like a revelation. There have always been conductors who conducted Brahms with great flexibility. Of course, there was Furtwängler, but also Bruno Walter and Eugen Joachim, and So it's not quite as radical as it might sound, but it is with a chamber orchestra, which creates great transparency of texture. It's a little bit lightweight as a result, as you might expect. You also get the Haydn variations in here, by the way. But it's a wonderful set of an interpretive approach that's done about as well as it can be because, of course, Charles Mackerras is the conductor, and just about everything Mackerras did is just terrific, right? So I was looking on Amazon recently, and I noticed that this seems to have disappeared. That doesn't mean you can't get it. That doesn't mean you can't stream it. I don't know. All I know is that the Mackerras legacy on Telarc really needs comprehensive treatment. And this is one of the linchpins of that legacy, of that discography, and it should never have been allowed to go out of print, which just pisses me off beyond belief. Hence, the fact that it is ripe for reissue, and oh, so unlikely to be, and it's so depressing. Okay, friends, keep on listening. Talk to you soon, and take care.